guys, welcome back to my channel. We are going to be doing a video using the full beat blending sponge kit from Colourpop. So these are what the sponges look like. I just wet them all, which is why they're so big and not fitting in the box. And they originally came out with a sponge before in the past. This is what it looks like, and I do have like some numbers on here because I accidentally left it on top of something else, and it pretty much transferred over. So we're going to be doing a full in-depth video on all the sponges and how to use them, and my thoughts on the sponges. So I already really like this sponge here. This is like your basic sponge. It doesn't have anything fancy with it. It's very soft and squishy, which is what I love about it, but it's still dense enough to really pack on some color. We have 5 different sponges here. The first one is a velvet sponge, and this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can really tell that it's velvet on camera, but in person you can definitely see how it's fluffy, and it kind of feels a little bit weird. I've never used a velvet sponge before, but this is supposed to give you more of an airbrush finish, and it's gonna give you, that's all it says, that it gives you an airbrush finish. And I wet it. I was gonna keep this one dry, but I already had wet all of them at the same time, so this one is now wet. And then the next sponge is the detailer sponge. So this one's gonna be more of a pointed tip sponge, and it has kind of somewhat of a round tip here. So this is gonna be really good to get in the creases of underneath the eyes and stuff, around the nose. And then you can use this side here to contour the face if you wanted to, or pack on any foundation. Then we have the hourglass one, which this one is going to give you, it's going to be better to fit in the hand because of the hourglass shape there. And this one's going to effortlessly apply product all over. I feel like this is going to be a really good one too to do your highlighter with, and then you can also use it to contour with because of the shape of it, and because since it divots here, you can kind of use one half for one thing, one half for the other thing. And then we have the complexion sponge, which looks like the original sponge, but the only difference is that this one has this flat side here, which this does not have. This, well, kind of does. It has it like this, and then it has that flat side at the bottom here. So this one you can use to apply bigger areas of foundation all over the face with either side that you have here, and then this smaller side you can fit in between here if you needed to. So that's really cool. And then the last sponge, which is the one that I'm most intrigued about and looks exactly like this sponge, is the silicone sponge. So as you can see, they're about the same size when they're wet. But this one is really cool because it has a silicone core in the center. So what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to give you maximum coverage from a sponge. It's going to minimize the absorption of the sponge too because of the silicone center. I was expecting this to be more rubbery than what it is. It just feels like a thicker sponge in the center. So I am very intrigued with this to see if it's going to give me full coverage. And obviously I don't really like full coverage anyway, so I felt like it'd be best to use the Pretty Fresh foundation with these sponges and the concealer as well to see what kind of coverage I get out of everything. I'm not going to use this one just because I already know how this one works. I really like it a lot, but I am going to use the other ones and we'll see what happens. So yeah, without further ado, we'll jump right into the tutorial. I'm going to use these 2 sponges. So this is the complexion sponge and the silicone sponge. No, actually I'm going to start with this one. This is the detailing sponge. So this is going to be the one I'm going to use to apply my concealer with. And obviously you don't need to have all 5 sponges to create a makeup look, but I'm going to show you how to use all 5 sponges for different things and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and apply a little bit of our corrector first. And then I'm just going to take the bottom side of the sponge to blend in my corrector. Okay, so it's getting kind of all over the sponge there. So I'm going to use the pointed tip. I feel like that just picked up all the product. So that's what we look like right now. So then, I'm really sorry for the lighting, guys. It's such a gloomy day out, and I don't have my other lights right now. So I'm gonna take the Pretty Fresh concealer, which I love this concealer. It gives me pretty good coverage and it doesn't like dry me out and it doesn't break apart on the skin either, which I really like. I like this one better than the No Filter concealer, which is what I used to use before. And I love it because it's like the same color too as the No Filter. So we're gonna take the other side. So this is the clean side of the detailer sponge. And I'm just gonna go ahead and blend that in. So far so good. I really like the tip of this, and I feel like I still have pretty good coverage. So it wasn't too bad. I feel like it gives me pretty good finish to the skin there. Then I'm gonna go ahead and take these two sponges. So this is the complexion sponge. It's gonna give you a normal, like medium coverage, and this is that silicone one that's supposed to give you more of a full coverage. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the Pretty Fresh tinted moisturizer, and I'm just gonna dot it on my skin real quick. I'm putting it in all the places that I usually would put it. If I need to grab more, I'll grab more. And then on one side, I'm gonna use the complexion sponge, and on the other side, I'm gonna use the silicone sponge. And I have some extra product back here if I need it. So I'm gonna use the complexion sponge for this side right here. And I like how like it's flat here because it just blends into the skin so nicely. I usually always like have to use this side here, but this is like a lot bigger, so I feel like it covers more square foot. And you guys can see it does definitely pick up some color. And then I like it too because like around the eyebrows, you really have that nice precise finish. Okay, so this is the right side of my face. So now I'm gonna take the silicone side, or the silicone sponge, and I'm gonna just use like this part of the sponge and see what happens. I actually do feel like it's giving me that medium coverage that this tinted moisturizer gives me. Wow, I'm very, very impressed. Wow, that actually gave me really good coverage. I'm surprised. And you can even see too, look, I use the same amount of product and you can see how much more this one absorbed than this one absorbed. That is crazy. So this is the left side of my face. I don't know if you guys can see. Obviously you can still see some like acne scars and stuff like that, but I feel like this side, you can really, really see all of my imperfections compared to this side. Okay, so then next up, we're gonna go ahead and bake with the velvet sponge. You guys know that I don't really enjoy like baking my skin. So I'm gonna use the velvet sponge because it has like this flat tip here where I feel like I can really like bake around my nose. It has this flat side that will really let me bake under here. You can also use it for foundation if you wanted to. It does have a flat side on the bottom here, and then it has this rounded side here. So I'm gonna take that sponge. It's already wet. I definitely am gonna have to try it again dry to see what I think. But we're gonna go ahead and bake. So before I bake though, let me just take the sponge and make sure everything is nice and good. Ooh. Okay. Wow, this is interesting. So this does not feel like a regular sponge at all. I'm gonna use the little tip there to get a little more precise and in these cracks and crannies. So you guys know that I don't really prefer like using the baking method. Like I dry bake, which is what I like to call it, which is why I wanted to keep the sponge dry. And since I only have one, you know, I have to let this dry and it's gonna take a little bit. It is kind of hard to use because it is a big sponge. That's why I feel like keeping it dry would work best. I definitely will update you guys. I'll probably put it in the description box. I'm not looking at the camera. I'm just trying to bake my life away here. And I'm not gonna bake for that long because I don't want my under eyes to feel that dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the Alamad complexion brush. I love this powder, by the way, from Ciate. It is so nice. Got it in our BoxyCharm last month. Definitely gives you that airbrush finish, but that could be the powder. Not too shabby, guys. I like it. Did a pretty good job, you know, considering the fact that I don't like baking, but I feel like our skin looks really flawless. So I went ahead and put on my blush, and I'm gonna use this palette from Zoeva. This is from my BoxyCharm box because I'm kind of in the middle of filming that video at the same time. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that and put it on the top half for my highlighter. Okay, this is really stunning, guys. You can see that. It just gives you like a really beautiful fresh glow. Like it makes you look like you're lit from within. It does have a little tip on it too, so I can like do my nose real quick. A little bit too much on the tip of our nose there. But this is really nice, guys. I really like this. And I don't have any cream contour or like cream bronzer or anything, so I'm just gonna use the other side, the bottom half, that's more on the flat side with a little bit of the blush topper in this palette. And I'm just gonna top that right on top of my blush that I have on. Alright, so I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup real quick, and then I'll come back with my thoughts on the sponges and tell you guys which ones I recommend and which ones I don't. Yeah, we'll be right back. Alrighty, so the rest of my makeup is on. I have to say that I am a huge fan of all these sponges. Like, they're so great. I love the way they feel. They feel just as nice as this one here, where it wasn't like too squishy, it wasn't too soft, it wasn't too flimsy, it wasn't too hard. Like, it's just perfect consistency, and you can really get in the cracks and crannies of the skin. Overall, I think I was most impressed with this sponge here, the silicone one. I feel like this one, I was not expecting it to give me as good coverage just because it's kind of weird, but I feel like this is probably the best one. And one thing I always hated about sponges was the fact that it did get rid of so much of your product, so you had to apply so much more, and I'm not about that life. So I feel like this is definitely more innovative. It kind of goes back to when like everybody was using like just the like actual silicone sponge, because remember that it looked like a little chicken cutlet. Like that's what this is like kind of mimicking, while also being an actual beauty sponge. So this one's probably my favorite of all of them, the one that I would most recommend. This one was actually really nice too, but you are going to get that regular coverage. I just liked it because since we have that flatter surface, I feel like you can apply the product on a lot faster. So if you're someone who's in a rush, the complexion sponge is definitely going to be something that you're going to like. The hourglass sponge, I do like the ergonomic shape of it. And I like the fact that, you know, you can use one half for one thing, the other half for another thing. You can use it for foundation and concealer and stuff like that too, because it does have that tip there. So you can technically like get in there in those cracks and crannies. But I personally really liked it for the like highlighter. I feel like that really just made the highlighter look really nice. And again, I really like the shape of it and how it fits in the hand. Definitely very comfortable. And then we have the detail sponge, which is nice, but I feel like it's not really that necessary. Maybe if you're like a makeup artist, maybe this might be necessary for you, or if like you just really have like, you can't get in those cracks and crannies with just a regular sponge. Like I feel like with this sponge, this tip is more than enough because I can just pinch it and I can really get in there if I wanted to. So I feel like this is kind of unnecessary. Like I don't feel like you absolutely need this sponge. I feel like this is more like a sponge that it's nice to have. And this is going to absorb more product, of course, too. I feel like that one absorbed the most product out of all of them. And then the velvet sponge. This one was interesting. I definitely am going to have to try it dry before I give my full thoughts on it. I feel like wet, it was just way too big. Maybe if you're gonna apply foundation with it, it would be good. But like to bake with and stuff, I feel like it was just so big and I could barely like, because of the weird shape, how it kind of like squares off there, I feel like I couldn't really like be precise right here when I was trying to like clean up my nose contour and stuff like that. But I do think that this is an interesting sponge. I will have to try it both like with foundation to see if it does give you that airbrush finish that it says. I feel like my under eyes look pretty airbrushed and really nice. And I don't feel like really dry underneath either, which is nice too. And it didn't absorb that much product either. But I'll have to try it both wet for foundation and then dry for powder and see what my final thoughts are on this. So I would probably say the one that I least recommend is the detailing one, and the one that I most recommend is the silicone one. And then the complexion one. So those are probably my top 3 out of all the sponges, but overall I do really like them a lot. If you guys are like a makeup artist, like I said, I feel like getting the whole kit is great. Or if you just like have your days where you do like simple makeup and then you also do like heavy glam, I feel like you can probably get the set too. But if you're someone who like just does everyday makeup or doesn't really do anything crazy, I wouldn't get all of these sponges, to be honest. I would probably get like 1, maybe even 2. And like I said, I feel like this is probably going to be your best bet if you're a person who does, like, is in a rush, needs something really quick. I feel like either this one, the complexion one, or the silicone one is probably going to be your best bet for like the everyday person. The other sponges I feel like are just extra sponges that you can have, but these two you'll probably get the most use out of. This one being my favorite because it's going to give you the most coverage and you're going to use the least amount of product, and this one is my second favorite because of how big it is. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the sponges. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys got the sponges, what your guys' thoughts are. Sorry I didn't get this video out for you guys when it first came out. I think it came out like last week. I just have been really busy and I've been working, so I haven't had as much time as I used to, so I can't just like be popping up videos left and right, but I am going to try to be intentional about getting videos up for you guys as soon as possible. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then.